Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Moms Moving On. I have a friend on with me today who is not just amazing in her own right, and you'll hear her story and understand. She's also a Moving On Method certified coach, which is really fun for us. Jessica Frew, if you don't already follow her, you're going to after this. She's the co host of a successful podcast called Husband in Law that she records with her husband, Matt, and ex husband, Steve. Together, they share stories of love, marriage, coming out, divorce, remarriage, and co parenting to help others know that they are not alone. Together, they co own The Bold Logic, a company devoted to helping people go from living in an I should mindset to taking bold action toward keeping and reclaiming their sense of self. Jessica is a firm believer that by knowing and understanding what it is you really want in life, you can boldly create a life you love no matter what your circumstances. Jessica would love to tell you about her story. We are so excited to hear it. Jessica, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on, Michelle. It's fun to chat with you.
It's fun to see you like in this, put you like in the hot seat. You were such a great addition to our last training that when did you do that? A couple of months ago already now, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's been a hot minute and I loved it. So great.
I'm really glad. I'm glad you liked it. And I love having, people who are already professionals in their own right, helping others live their best lives, come and take this to have a different perspective and more tools in their toolbox to help people through tough times. But you, my dear, are like a living testament to just, I don't know, making lemonade or Spanish fly out of lemons. Where do we even start?
Oh man. Yeah. I feel like we hear about toxic positivity and I always am telling people, I'm like, I am not a toxic positivity person, but I am a very positive person and tend to make the most out of whatever situation I'm given. That doesn't mean I don't feel my feelings. I don't dive into all of the hard things. You have to go through all of that to be able to have what it is you really want on the other side of things. So yeah. And diving in, do you want me to tell
I
where
like that
this all
you're
started?
I like that you're starting with that because yes, like we see you and
Mhm.
it's like, oh my God, she's fucking amazing. Like you're cheerful, you're bright, you have a positive attitude. And it's nice to hear that you're human too. I think,
Yeah.
people need that reminder because it can be a both and you can be both
Yeah.
struggling with something and choose to move forward with positivity and love, which is, I think, the realest thing you can do in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be clear about this, like yesterday, I was just like, I cannot function. And I went and
Girl,
laid in bed for like 2 hours. I was like, you know what? This is just the reality. Especially there is so much going on right now in the world, in our lives, and so much that's out of our control that sometimes you just have to lean into those. Well, if you're feeling that, lean into those moments and then realize, yes, I'm going to carry on as well. And that's kind of, I feel like, the story of my life.
yeah, well, let's hear the story of your life. I'm ready.
Yeah, so most people like me to start when I met my ex-husband. We were in college and I went to a choir concert. I was a vocal performance major at the time. And I was like, I do not want to be at this concert, but I was supposed to be there. And I was standing up to leave. And this row of women, like 10 women, start walking down the aisle and filing into the seats in front of me. And I was like, okay, I got to wait until these ladies leave. And at the very end of the row, there was this tall, good looking guy and he didn't fit on the row and he had to sit next to me. And I was like, all right, this just got a lot better. I will stay. And we chatted, respectfully on and off throughout the concert. And then at the end, he's like, hey, I would love to ask you out. I've actually, he didn't admit this at the time, but he'd like seen me walk by his house to and from college, like going to classes and stuff. And he's like, I'd love to take you out. And he called me the next day. We went out and we were together like every chance we could be after that. It was just like an instant fit. We had so much fun together. And he was really looking for somebody that he could be himself with. And he found that with me. So we met in February and we were married by December. So it was super
Wow.
quick. And we also, I should preface this, we're raised in a very conservative Christian religion. And so that feeds into our story. And we
Okay.
like did all the things. We were like good little, we checked all the boxes for our religion and did all the things and we got married. And 6 months into our marriage, I found a bunch of porn on our computer. And while I knew he looked at porn, I didn't realize it was all men. Like, as this porn's popping up on our computer, I'm realizing there are no women in sight. It's like, I understand some straight men look at like gay porn, but I knew in my heart that my husband was gay. And so at that
Did you know
point,
before this moment?
no idea.
Okay. No idea.
No
Okay.
clue. Like I said, he disclosed that there was pornography use, but he did not disclose that it was all men.
Right.
And he was very much in denial still that he was gay. And he said at that point, it was the first time he'd let himself even think the words, I'm gay. And he still couldn't say it to me. He couldn't put that outside of himself. But he's like, in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gay. I'm gay. But he was in denial to me. And I was like, okay, my husband's probably gay, but I am really happy. And this is the path we were told we should live into. Like, this is how our life should look. This is where we should be going. So I was like, we'll continue forward. And like a year and a half later, he was in counseling for some stuff he had going on. And the counselor's like, yes, these things are an issue, but really you're gay. And until you accept that fact about yourself,
And you
go
were still
ahead.
married at this point?
We're still married. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The counselor was like, until you like accept that fact about yourself, then you aren't going to be able to deal with these other things. Like, they're not going to resolve because it's feeding into the fact you're not accepting who you are. And so at that point in our marriage, we're about 2 years in, he came out to me officially and was like, I'm gay. I don't want to leave you. I really love you. I'm happy. And I felt very strongly the same way. Like, we had such a good time and we could, like I said, be ourselves together. We felt safe together. And so we continued forward. And at this point, we're like trying to have a baby and all of these things. We had started into basic fertility treatments, of like testing and stuff. So we were like in it. And we continued forward. We brought a daughter into our lives 3 years after that. And then 2 years after she was born, just before her second birthday, Steve ended up having an affair with a man. And at that point, he just couldn't connect to me anymore, like physically.
Right.
Emotionally, we were still very connected. Physically, though, he was just like, I can't do this to you anymore. I don't know what I want. And he told me, he's like, I felt horrible for having the affair, like for what it did to our relationship and what I knew it was going to do to you. And he said, but it also felt like the most natural, right thing for me that I've ever done in my life. And I was like, okay.
Wow. But I
And
love,
I had,
like, I love that he could say that to you so openly and
yeah,
honestly, because something tells me that despite this, I guess disappointment you felt in learning that
hmm
he was gay, you were his safe space and you were his person throughout that. So how amazing for him and for the both of you now. But anyway, continue. That's
yeah.
a testament to
It,
you.
it, it's like such a weird dynamic to be in when you have a partner come out in your relationship, because very often it is that you feel like, oh my, there's an honor that comes with somebody coming out to you, that you know you're a safe place for them, that they feel comfortable expressing that to you. And also it represents so often your relationship changing and shifting and all of these things that you weren't planning for your life. And so it can be such a tricky place to navigate. I knew that he was gay already. So this wasn't like a huge revelation, but it was a weird thing. Like, when I talk about this, I'm like, it's so weird to think back to the fact that he could say those things to me and that actually
Right.
felt better than him withholding it. Because he didn't tell me about the affair like immediately. It was, to his credit, it was within a couple weeks of the affair. But I
Okay.
knew something was off in those 2 weeks. Like, I felt it and I knew something. I'm like, what has shifted? What is going on? And then when he finally told me, I was like, okay, I can release this. And that's why I always tell people, it's more the lying or the covering up that damages relationships than the
Then the actual
infidelity
knowing.
itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, so we at that point got divorced. We got divorced very quickly and we're pretty amicable about it. But we really sat down and made a plan for our divorce. It was so weird to be in that space where you're hurting and mourning the loss of something that's so important to you. But I just kept thinking, but what do I really want this to look like now? Like, I have no control over the fact we're getting a divorce, I do have control in how we show up for each other and for our daughter moving forward. And
That
so
is
we
that
like
is, I mean, hello, that's the whole episode. Yes. And while it may be weird to sit and plan for your lives apart, what a
Mhm.
gift to your child that you were both able to come together and know that no matter what, you guys both have this shared love for her and a desire to keep things safe and healthy for her.
Yeah. Yeah, and Steve always gives me kudos for this, like, us being able to have the relationship that we have, and I'm like, "There's no way you can have this type of relationship and make this work unless both people are willing." You can create the own feelings and things you want within yourself no matter what the other person does. You can have a healthy, safe relationship with them as long as you know what it is you want within yourself.
I'm going to say something that contradicts
Say
that
it.
only because, I work in this space
Yeah.
and I too have an ex-husband and I see day in and day out conflict. And I will
Yes.
tell you that the biggest driver in amicability between two divorced people as they're co-parenting is when the woman decides, you know what, I'm going to let go and let live. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's move forward. That the women don't realize how much power they have in that capacity. So
100%.
to say that it takes two, yes, in some ways it does, right? We're all relational creatures, but to know that it takes one person to make a change for something better and that change can lead to something better is also
Yes.
very important.
And that's
You could
100%
have been bitter,
what
you
I
could have
mean.
been angry,
Yes.
you could have been resentful, you could have been scorned woman. You weren't, so you're amicable, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's that.
And, like, that's not to say I didn't feel almost all of those things at some point, but I did choose how I dealt with those and how I showed up within those and how long I wanted to sit in those feelings. Like,
Mhm.
you have control over that. Um, and women, I think we often feel like we don't have control. Like, we're like, "Oh, it's just happening to me. Everything's out of my control." And I'm like, "No, take back your freaking control. Like, you get to choose this."
That's
And,
it.
Michelle, I completely agree that, like, the power we have as women to choose that and the way it changes the relationship is amazing and so powerful. And
Yeah.
I only say that it takes two because we have a very different relationship with my current husband's ex-wife, and it has taken us of like, I came into that relationship hoping to have a similar relationship that I have to my ex-husband. So I was inviting her to do things with me. I would and tell her when I was taking her kids because they were with me on our weeks when we were going to the pool and like really tried to facilitate that relationship. And then she came in and took all of the things I'd shared with her as I was creating this safe space for us and threw me under the bus to my husband, to her kids, parental alienation, all of those things. And so I realized that I had to set it up differently. Now, today, we have a relationship where we can talk, but we don't like engage. This isn't something that she's my friend, and that's okay. This
Yeah.
type of relationship that we have now is what's best for the kids. So I get it on all of the sides. Like there's a lot to take in. But we chose at that moment, going back, like, what our divorce was going to look like, and we
Right.
laid it out in great detail, knowing that the way we got there or the exact details didn't really matter. What mattered was the feelings we wanted to have within our relationship. And so sometimes things that we thought were important had to change and pivot and shift and realize that, oh, this isn't really important. In order to keep the feelings we want within our family dynamic, we have to do things differently than we thought, and that's okay. And so
Did
I
you
think
have a
there's a lot of
collaborative
power.
divorce process?
Um, I what do you mean in that? Tell me exactly what you
So
mean.
there's litigation, there's mediation, there's traditional, everyone has their own attorney
Mhm.
and goes against each other type of divorce, or then there's collaborative divorce where everybody kind of comes together to take best next steps.
So, what we did was I got an attorney just to make sure that everything was written out properly. Steve and I decided kind of what it was going to look like. I had the attorney write it out. We filed, like, gave it to Steve. He made a couple tweaks, and that was it. So, it was very different in that way too, of just we already knew how we wanted it to kind of look. Um, and Steve put a lot of trust in me in that. Like, I have a lot of the custody and everything because we really determined that we could make this look how we wanted to look and that it was just easier to have things written out. So it's a different dynamic than most divorces, I would say, and how we went
Yeah,
about it. Um, I would say it was collaborative in our own
in your own
in
way.
how
Sounds
we
like it.
decided
That's
to
why
do
I
it.
asked. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was more just let's make sure it's done right, but done according to what we really want.
So what is your custody split now?
So it has shifted. Our daughter is now she was 2 when we got divorced. She's now
Right.
13. And
Oh,
we have shifted according to how it looks for her and what she needs.
love
She's
that.
actually almost 14. Holy crap. Um, and so we have, as she's become a teenager, realized it's even harder on her to go back and forth between houses, with sports, with everything
Right.
that's going on. And so we just shifted it at the beginning of this year, actually, where she's with me most of the time. She's with her dad every other weekend, and then Tuesday evenings until bedtime so that she doesn't have to worry about all the things. She carries a bit of anxiety. And so going like having to shuffle everything all the time was just really getting to her. It was just too much. And like this week, it's up in the air too, like, tomorrow night she's with Steve tonight, and then tomorrow, I can't take her to some events that she has, so he's stepping in and taking her to those things. So it's really kind of like, "Hey, can you do this?" And if he can't, then I go to my parents or to Matt, my current husband. So, but it's flexible at this
Right.
point. Like we have a type of relationship where it can be flexible. We live within 5 minutes of each other. And
Right.
so we can embrace that. And again, that's not for everybody, but this is what works for us and our
It's not
daughter.
for everybody, and it's not necessarily like a requirement of good co-parenting, but damn if
Mm-mm.
it doesn't make it easier. Like the
Oh my
flexibility
gosh.
that my daughter's father and I have found in recent years, after years of it being hard and horrible, it
Yeah.
made me realize that it doesn't matter if you have 50-50, 80-20. If you don't have flexibility and amicability, it's all gonna fucking suck. It just is.
Yeah.
And so being able to find that and say, okay, you know what? Our daughter needs X, Y, and Z more than we need to abide by a schedule. That's what it's all about for me.
And it's hard to not see it as personal to you. Like when we made this shift to Penny staying at our house most of the time, Steve was like he worked through it and we talk about it on our podcast actually of him going through this mentally of recognizing this has nothing to do with me. This doesn't mean my daughter loves me less. This doesn't mean Jessica thinks I'm a bad father. Like all of these things that naturally come up for us when we're getting less time with our kid, it has come down to this is what our kid needs at this point, and
Mhm.
I still get to show up. I still get to be at the games. I still get to do those things. I can still call and say, "Hey, can we go get dinner together?" And we'll be like, "Yeah, come pick her up," as long as that works. In the beginning, I really suggested like, we really tried hard to stick to the schedule as much as possible just to gain trust and respect and some consistency for Penny. With that being said, she also knew that if she needed to see one of the other parents, we didn't hesitate to reach out and be like, "Hey, Penny really misses you. Do you want to take her to the park?" Or something like that so that she got that. But I do think there's a healing process that happens
Yeah.
when you can create some respect of those boundaries of the other parent's time and make sure that's in place. And then it becomes easier to ask for those changes or those shifts to say, "Hey, can I take her?" Or, "Hey, would this work if we switch this?" Because those boundaries have been put in place.
So going back to that healing process, because like you mentioned in the beginning, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. How could it have been? What was the healing like for you? And how have you shown up different in this marriage versus your first?
Yeah. So the healing process with Steve and I looked like taking time apart so that we could come back together. A lot of people see mine and Steve's relationship now, and they're like, they want to just jump into that. Like, let's be best friends. Let's do the
Hmm.
things together. Let's spend every holiday together. And I'm like, I really encourage you to take some time apart.
So
Like
much
you
time.
yes. Like allow yourselves to figure out who you are now outside of this relationship and then be able to come together. Like you have to be able to heal like they can't be your emotional support person while you're healing. Like it doesn't work. There can be moments of that. There were moments of that, but also there needs to be some space. Um, and so I tell people, like, figure out what it is you want, figure out your own dynamics, and then start trying out things and see how they feel. It's not always going to feel good. It might feel rough at first, but like figure out, like, oh, we can go do this thing together. We can't do that together. Like there are just things that are like that, and it's okay.
Well, that's what I think is so unfair about the divorce process, right? It's like, this is your person that you vowed to
Mhm.
be with forever, but now you have to
Yeah.
be adversarial with them to go through this divorce process. Your natural inclination is to lean on them for support. They're not going to give it to you, and stepping away. That's why I say, like, don't be so set on co-parenting the first 2 years. Rest comfortably in the
Yes.
fact that if you're parallel parenting, you're probably doing what you need to do to emotionally disconnect, to break the marital cycle of codependency and comfort and all that comes with that. That's I love that you bring that up, because I think that's one of the healthiest things you need to do for yourself. If you would have told me 7 years ago that my ex and I would have the relationship we have now, I would have told you, you're crazy. We could barely be in the same room together.
Yeah.
And now he
Yeah.
is my emotional support person when it comes to things like our daughter. He's the first person I call. So
Yes.
things have a funny way of getting to where they need to be.
Yeah, there it gets to a healthy place where it is that person that you can call for those things, especially things regarding your kid. I mean, like Steve
Mhm.
was at Penny's volleyball tryouts last week and he's texting me. He's like, "She's so brave and so confident," and like all these things. And I love that we can still share that. And it's interesting because Matt's ex-wife had our my stepdaughter at the same tryouts, different times, but at the same time, and she was texting Matt, and that has taken that's a miracle that they can come together. And she was texting like, "Oh, she's doing so good," and things like that. Like, and that's a gift to be able to still feel that and to have that. But it does take that. I fully agree. Like parallel parenting, basically at the beginning, and understanding that everybody's figuring out these new dynamics. Nobody's doing anything perfect. Like, let's give grace and space to everybody to navigate this, so that we can have a relationship that works down the road.
Yeah, and I have to ask, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, and I apologize if it's a little bit too personal. Was there some level of like difficulty trusting after this? You know, you went through
Mhm,
infidelity, and on top of that, you went through learning that the person you thought you were spending your life with had a completely different sexual identity than you.
mhm.
And so was there any fear or hesitation getting into a new relationship thinking, oh my God, this could happen again? And how did you overcome that?
So one of the things that for myself I really needed and that I work with women on, this is my main thing that I work with them on, is coming back to trusting ourselves. Like if we can find the trust within ourselves to trust our own gut, to trust what we feel is right for us, then moving into the next relationship is a whole lot easier because you can trust that intuition. And we as women often wait for proof as to why our gut is telling us something. So we stay in a crappy relationship that's not serving us longer than needed because we want the proof that something's wrong. Our gut can't be right until we have that proof. And then we're
I
like, we
know.
knew it. We
I
knew
know.
something
Why
was
are we
off.
like this? Yeah.
I don't know. And so I'm I'm not naturally that type of person. I am naturally the type of person that if my gut is like, this is not okay. Like what is happening? Something is not okay here. I turn and go. Like I am like I'm out. And not that I do this perfectly all the time. But I did that with Steve. Like I knew when my time was to leave that relationship. I don't regret any of the years I spent with him. Like that was something I intentionally chose into and can own that. And so I think that once I felt confident in trusting myself in dating, it was like, okay, this is going to be fine. I can tell this guy isn't into me. He's just into this physical relationship. He just wants somebody to do things with. Like it's
Hmm.
not about me. And
Hmm.
so you can tell those differences. I could tell when a guy was genuinely interested in me and leaned into that. And so it was easier for me um knowing that I could trust myself to be able to trust somebody else. And that's why I tell women, I'm like, you don't have to trust your partner, you have to trust yourself. And while I do trust my partner, that's because I trust in like my well-being, like my intuition. And so I talk a lot too about like Matt leaves, my new husband. We've been married for 10 years now. He'll go on vacation, not vacations, like work trips and stuff. And it never crosses my mind that something is going on. And that's always when Steve never had an affair on a work trip, but something, he would always tempt fate. Like he would always
Right.
do things that were like not really okay within the boundaries of our relationship. And so I thought that when Matt went on these trips that I would like be not okay and that I would carry anxiety and all those things. And at first I was honest with him. I'm like, I might have a hard time with this. And I think that being honest and open like that of
Uh-huh.
saying, hey, this feels hard for me. This creates some anxiety for me with your partner allows you to have that communication and be able to, can you touch base with me at this
Uh-huh.
time? Can you
Uh-huh.
whatever? And now like Matt leaves and I'm like, whatever, just let me know you
Because
made it to the place.
your gut knows
My gut
it's
knows.
safe. It's so
We
crazy,
know.
Jessica. Like I love this because I was the most psychotic, untrusting person in my first marriage. Like I think about it, even now, my ex-husband will be like, so your husband's on a work trip, you're not going batshit crazy. Like, and it's so funny because like I know I don't have to. My gut knows. And it's one of those
Yes.
things that you just can't explain, but just feels so peaceful.
If you are going crazy, if you are feeling like this crazy anxiety, something is wrong. Like, yes, maybe it's just some healing that needs to be done, but also like in your first marriage, like usually that's telling us, hey, something isn't right. And we just
Mhm.
chalk it up to, oh, I'm too emotional, or oh, I'm too protective, or I'm
Mhm.
jealous,
Oh, I
or
was
I'm
too everything.
yeah,
In my mind, but
yeah,
my
yeah.
gut knew, baby.
Hmm.
God, us women, we really need to get a handle on that because
But the thing is, go ahead.
that's where our power comes from. Our power
Yes,
comes from that intuition. That's why we are able to be mothers. That's why we're able to know when our
yes,
baby is hungry or when our baby is tired. And then we second guess it in relationships. But that's what's beautiful about divorce in any capacity,
yep.
whether there was infidelity or not, you learn at that point that your gut knew all along and you're never going to not trust that bitch again, ever.
Dang straight. And I'm always like, this is the power. Women are like, oh, but I didn't listen before. And then I'm like, but you know what that feels like. And now you are going to claim your freaking voice and you are going to trust everything in you this time, whether you have proof or not, because nothing has to be wrong. Like this person doesn't have to be doing something for you horrible for you to know that the relationship isn't right. It just means it's not right for you. And that's okay.
And that is,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
this
and
is so
it's
amazing. You're just,
trusting
it's no,
trusting
because
our
really,
gut.
I'm sorry, I see people deal
Go
with a
ahead.
lot less and have just such a hard time pulling themselves out of it, and
Mhm.
I'm not minimizing anybody's experience,
No.
but there is a double whammy associated with your situation, and you still are just like this being of love and light. And it's inspiring, especially right now in these terrible times. Like, good for you.
Well, thank you. Thanks. And why I want to touch a little bit why trusting our gut is so hard because so many of us struggle with it and we beat ourselves up about it. And I'm like, it's not our fault. We're going to now do it. Like we're going to take it back. But when we're little, we are told, like from a young age, oh, you're fine. That didn't hurt that bad. It's okay. You shouldn't feel that way. It's not
Mm,
that big of a deal. Like
it's a good
that's
point.
fed in us from very little with good intentions. Like our parents are doing that because they want to protect us, they want to help us, all of those things. And then we hit teenage years and that's reinforced like, oh, you
Mhm.
should look like so and so. You should act this way. You
Stop.
should
It's so
whatever.
hard. I know.
And then we get to being adults, and whether it's work, whether it's being a mom, whether it's being a partner, we're told how that should look. And if we aren't showing up in those ways, we beat ourselves up. If we want something different, then we beat ourselves up. And so I think that it takes time to rebuild that in ourselves that, oh no, I am not too loud. I am not too anxious. I am not too much. I am not whatever. This is real for me. And that's all that matters.
I
And this
always
is
say, yes, that, when it comes to figuring yourself out after a painful relationship, ask yourself, was I too anything, or was that person just not equipped to deal with who I am? And there's a big shift that happens there.
Yeah, yeah. And when you come out of something, a relationship that feels heavy and hard, like you're feeling all those things, usually a lot of that, like, calms down
Mhm.
because you're not in this fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
You're not ignoring your body, and so your body's not freaking out of like, "Oh my gosh," your body, your emotions, like, all of it, like, screaming at you. And
Yeah.
this, you asked about my second relationship, and it's interesting because I feel like I lost myself more in my second relationship than I did in my relationship with Steve. Um, Steve and I didn't tell anybody what was going on until we knew we were ready to divorce because we wanted to know it was right for us. Like, we really
Right.
silenced that noise. And that's not for everybody. That was what was right for us because I needed to know I was making the decisions for myself.
I can
When
respect
I
that
entered
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, when I entered my relationship with Matt, I thought it was all going to look this one way and I had it figured out. I was ready and it was a freaking shitstorm. And
Oh
I
man.
completely lost who I was because I was trying to prove something to his kids, to his ex-wife. He was a mess. All sorts of stuff he thought he'd processed through before we got married came up, like on our honeymoon, and he just like completely fell apart. And so I was pushing and pushing to be who everybody else wanted me to be. And then I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, I am not trusting myself and what I need. And when I started taking that back and trusting my gut and setting firm boundaries with myself and with other people, things fell into place. And we had the relationship I thought we could have. But it took that time. And Matt then saw, oh my gosh, Jessica's okay. I'm not destroying her life. I'm okay to show up how I need to show up and
Uh-huh.
process through these things as well. And it created a safe space for everybody.
And
Um,
and
and
that's
so
living
I always
boldly.
like, yeah, we have to lean into who we are and trust what we need so that we can show up the best in our relationships. But it's a tricky thing to learn, especially after we've been through something hard in our relationship.
Right. And I feel like every relationship and every experience just sort of adds to our story and who we are and how we move through this world and how we treat other people and how we treat ourselves. And so that's why I feel going through setbacks, going through hard times, being disappointed, it all adds to the bigger, better picture, which you'll be
Mhm.
smarter and stronger because of. So, I mean, all amazing things that you are. It's wonderful and no doubt because of what you've gone through and your family's so lucky to
100%.
have you. I'm so grateful that you shared your story with us. I know that you have a retreat coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I have a retreat. They're small retreats. They are here in Boise, Idaho, and they are for women who have experienced some sort of betrayal in their relationship, whether that is having a partner come out. I do have a lot of women who come that have had a partner come out. And then I have women who come who are like, hey, I'm experiencing this sort of betrayal. And it could be self-betrayal. Like, if you have betrayed yourself in your relationship, you have betrayed your gut, like, these are the things we work through, and they are life-changing. Like, you leave a different person. This last retreat, one of the most powerful things that I saw was so many women releasing like forgiving people. They released all of this stuff they were carrying. And it was not just their exes or their partners. Some of them are still with their partners. You can come either way. But it was releasing things towards their parents and towards like other people in their lives and not just geared towards their partners. And often we have to do those things before we can release the forgiveness for our partners and we can release that anger
What
because
are the
there's so much
dates?
compounded. It
Yeah.
is January 25th to the 28th.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we will link that.
Yep.
I know you have a free workbook for our people, so we're going to link that as well. Where can everybody find you if they want to learn more about you or follow you or do all those things?
Yeah. So you can find our podcast on any podcasting platform. It's called Husband in Law. Start with episode 1. We go chronologically through our story of the three of us sharing all the things. I am on Instagram at Hey Jessica Frew. That is where I'm the most active. I'm also on Pinterest and LinkedIn, so you can find me there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And for those of you listening, I highly suggest you check Jessica out. Even if your story isn't the same as hers, you will definitely draw from her inspiration. I know I do. And you won't regret it. We will see you next time on Moms Moving On. Thank you so much, everybody.